they are insecure. That's why they feel like they have to sleep with so many girls for them to feel like they are somebody. Why should you also feel like you doing the same thing is empowering you? Femininity has become like a thing of the past. This has just made men more feminine, and it has made women more masculine. Oh, men are no longer men anymore. Chivalry is dead. Why do you think chivalry is dead? You don't have to be a man or be like a man to be a woman. Welcome, my royal babes, back to my channel. This is your Queen Angel. Let's get right into the video. Why do we need to differentiate between the two and which one of them is best? Okay, so women are feminine. That's how God made us. But then it reached a point in time that it became seen like femininity was a flaw, like a weakness for women. So because we didn't want to be weak, we had to divert from femininity. And that's when feminism came into play. Women want to be men. They want to be the leaders. They want to be the ones in control. The one who wears the pants. Is that how God ordained it to be? So what is feminism? Feminism is a collection of movements and ideologies aimed at defining, establishing and defending equal social rights for women. So it started out with the harmless notion that women are also meant to have equal rights as men because they were equal to men. Which, if you look at it just like that, is true. But then, is this really true though? These are some traits of feminism. So gender equality, challenging patriarchy. So basically, they wanted to challenge that men shouldn't always be the leaders. Traditional gender roles on equal pay should be done away with. Empowerment. So basically, choosing who to sleep with, reproductive rights, having access to contraception, safe and legal abortion, and healthcare. Gender stereotypes. So basically, every stereotype or gender roles are made in the society, and therefore feminism seeks to destroy it. All these rights, when you just read it like that, it sounds like, oh my gosh, this is the dream for, especially for as a woman, this is like the dream. It sounds all fine and dandy, but then when you delve deeper into their actual meanings and when they are actually carried out in the real world, that's when you see that this is not right. What is not right about this? Number one, bad empowerment. So they keep talking about empowerment, empowering your bodies. Yet, in an attempt to empower women, feminism has created an environment where everything is empowerment. Giving your bodies away to men who do not deserve it, empowerment. The same men that you say they are oppressing you, you just sleep with them anyhow and you say it's empowerment. Because hashtag, you want to be equal to men. But listen, a man who sleeps around it also, it's not empowering him either. That's a very sad life. So don't think you want to be equal to men, so you go and sleep around because men are doing it. The men that are doing it, they are insecure and they are broken inside. That's why they feel like they have to sleep with so many girls for them to feel like they are somebody. Why should you also feel like you doing the same thing is empowering you? How is that empowering anybody? Why would you want to have that? And there's all these kind of things leads to the whole phase. It leads to sexual liberation, or things that they call sexual liberation. And all these things leads to teenage pregnancy. It leads to unnecessary soul ties, STDs, and sorrow, just because you think you are empowering yourself. Femininity, and God forbid, submission, has become like a thing of the past. Being feminine and looking up to your husbands as the leaders is seen like you are a second-class human being if you do that. Gender roles are now out of the window because apparently they are feminist and toxic. This has just made men more feminine and it has made women more masculine. And this change has happened because the gender roles need to be fulfilled. It's not something society has just made out of the blue, that you be like this, you'd be like that. It's even deep down into our biology and our physical makeup. There's a reason why men are bigger and stronger than women. And there's a reason why our brains are different, why women are more creative, why men are more analytical. It starts with our brain. These are gender roles not just made by the society. These are gender roles made by God. So because they are God ordained, each person has to fulfill a role. So if you, the woman, are not going to fulfill the feminine, the man will have to fulfill the feminine. And the woman will have to fulfill the masculine. And because we are not made in that way, it becomes messed up, basically jumbled up. Because that's not how we were meant to be. And even this is the same with even same-sex couples. Like you see, a woman, if it's a woman and a woman, one woman will be like, I've forgotten how they call themselves, but one woman will be like more masculine and the other one will be more feminine. And even with two men, one man will be more feminine, one man will be more masculine, because these roles have to be fulfilled. You cannot just do away with it and say gender roles, so everybody has to be the same. It doesn't work that way. There has to be a complement. And that's a beautiful thing. It's so beautiful that we can complement each other. Like, why does this have to be a bad thing? This is the problem that I have. And to be fair, I cannot say this is a problem I have, because I was like that too. I used to be a feminist and I was so proud of it. I wanted to be the independent woman who needed no man. I mean, I have so many videos on it, you can have a look. But that's because I was broken inside. I was scared. I was scared that any man will do me wrong. Like, every man is bad and they're going to do me wrong. So I'm just going to rely on just myself and I don't need anybody kind of thing. But that's because I was broken. Deep down inside, you know this is not right. Deep down inside, you want to rest in your femininity. You don't have to be this big boss all the time. Because deep down, you are not meant to be like that. So you're just going to get stressed at the end of the day. Now, women no longer prioritize families. They think that one is for it does not matter. And they are all just looking to their careers and how to fulfill their careers and their ambitions. They rather choose their careers over families, which is fine. But then when the children become unruly and they are all over the place, and then you start to question, oh, how have they become like that? Why does each generation keep getting worse and worse? Why do you think so? Because women are no longer in the house. It's not just women. Parents are no longer in the house. But of course, the father has to go out and go and work. But at least the woman can also be working, can focus on her career too. But it doesn't have to be everything. If you're focusing so much on your career, then what about the children? If you do have children. And what about the family? What's going to happen with them? Your children are going to be raised up by school. And what they teach in school nowadays, is that what you want your child to have? If all they teach in school is what your child is going to be brought up with, it's no surprise that your child does not listen to you. It's no surprise that the child does not have any biblical principles. And it's just all over the place doing whatever they want. Because that's how the world is nowadays. And that's because the families have been lost. Feminism is one of the main culprits. Women are now competing with men in relationships and even marriages. Because it's like being a housewife means that you are a second class woman. Like you are lazy, you have no ambition. And yeah, it's not every woman wants to be a housewife, of course. But then if a woman wants to be a housewife and take care of the family and make the family the priority, why should we shame her for that? That does not mean she doesn't have any ambition. It just means that her family is her main priority and she wants everything to go well with her family. Why should she be seen as some lazy woman when working at home is very hard too? Women cannot rest in their femininity and they don't even know how to be feminine anymore because it's seen as a weakness. So God forbid I be feminine. So they will either lead with their careers or with their money in relationships. And then when chivalry is dead, you question, oh, men are no longer men anymore, chivalry is dead. Why do you think chivalry is dead? Because you are now the man. So of course, if you are not feminine anymore and the man is basically like dating another man, of course 50-50 relationships are going to happen. Of course he's not going to, he's not able to be masculine and stay in his masculine when you are also being masculine and when you also want to be the leader. And that's why this dating society nowadays, it's all over the place. Men wanting to be women, women wanting to be men, chivalry is there, 50-50 dates, anything goes, hookup culture. It's not just because of this, but this is one of the main reasons. Yes, we are equal human beings, but we do not have equal roles. And this comes down to our biology. God made men with more muscle. He made men stronger. Men are physically stronger, but there are a lot of things where women are a lot more stronger. Men cannot give birth. If God made men to give birth, they will not be able to handle it. And I know this because when I work in phlebotomy, whenever I am going to draw blood, some of the men will be shouting, like seriously, some fainting. You see some big tall man, like one man came, he was so big, so tall, I was literally scared of him. And he was like, oh, he's so scared of the needle. I'm like, but a woman will just handle it like a champ. You see? So even though men have more muscle, they are physically stronger than us. There are some things that women are stronger. You see, that's why God made women be the ones to give birth. So just because men are physically stronger than you, that does not mean they are better, or we just have different roles. The men are the leaders, they are the providers. Women are the caregivers, we are the nurturers. It's not a bad thing. We complement each other. And that's how God made the world to be. So they also spoke about their reproductive rights. Doesn't it sound so nice? Or have the right over my reproduction? Really, you do. Hi guys, so this is my website. So that's the homepage. It's all about godly femininity, and the blog is more on a Christian take on social issues. Yeah, so please check it out and become a certified royal babe by subscribing to the blog. See, like I did. Were you the one who made the life in your womb? After you finished everything that you were doing, how did the life inside your womb come about? Killing a baby, killing a child in your womb, but no, it's your body. You see, everything that they put together, it sounds so nice, but then in retrospect, when you actually carry out in real life, that's when you see, no, this is not right. That's why you have to be mindful about who you sleep with, because at least in marriage, you cannot run away. Because this right that you're talking about is not your right. It's because it's not your body. It's another human being growing inside you. So it's not your body that you say it's your right to kill the child inside you. Don't get me wrong. I know feminism has helped a lot. I do know. And we are here. Women are able to work. Women are able to vote. Women have a say in political affairs. All those kind of things, because feminism has helped. Like, we have equal payments like men. And we're able to just live like a human being because of it. But then it just keeps getting worse and worse. It's like the more you achieve something, you just want to keep adding more things. And now it just getting so worse that it's like we want to do away with men. Like, we are better than men. You see songs like "We Run the World, Girls" and "Independent Woman." Those kind of songs. It's like women are in charge. So we want to dominate men. Like, it's too far. How far is too far? If you want to end it with "We are equal human beings like men," that's fine. Yeah, we are equal human beings. We have different roles. Splendid. But don't go as far as "we want to do away with men," because this is hatred at this rate. So there was basically a questionnaire on Quora about what women feel about feminism and why they disagree, kind of thing. So I'm just going to read it. Modern day feminism is great in theory. Exactly what I said. In theory. Modern day feminism says that women should be able to work in male-dominated careers and do what men do. That is fine. But what's not fine is that feminists proclaim that the only way to be a woman is to act like a man. Exactly my point. So who is a woman and who is a man at this point? Literally watch my video that I did above. I'll put it above. I made a video on what is a woman, because it seems like we don't know what a woman is nowadays. The modern day feminists forget that there are billions of women in the world and not all of them have a desire to have a career. Some of them prefer to get married and have children. Exactly. And there are many women who are fine with gender roles. Exactly. And many of these women are religious, and feminists rant and rave about how all these women are oppressed by the evil patriarchy. To feminists, any woman who actually puts her motherhood and children before her career and depends on her husband, the horror, is oppressed. I like it. She's so funny. I thought feminism was about choice and about providing opportunities for women who choose to have a career. Instead, feminists proclaim that all women must have a career in a male-dominated field. Like, you want to go out and be a hunter or a policeman? Like, how many of these male-dominated careers do you actually see women in? Builders, the people who work underground, miners, those hard jobs. How many times do you find women doing it? And, well, it's not every time that you find a man doing nails either. But I'm trying to say that you don't have to be a man or be like a man to be a woman. And that's the only way for a modern woman to have any value. How about all you feminists take a chill pill? There's nothing wrong with being a housewife and mother and calling women religious or otherwise oppressed. Just because they don't fit in your idea of a modern woman is insulting and demeaning. I like it. Another one said, the biggest problem lies in the word feminism. When we see in today's world, it's obvious in almost all the countries there's gender inequality, which is mostly towards the woman. But feminism, in a way which behaves against the men, is not the solution. If we're fighting against inequality, then we should empathize on humanity. That's good. We want equality, not the dominance over men. Then we are no different than those men who always consider women as inferior than them. So you want men to become inferior than you. This is what modern feminism has become. You want men to become smaller because what? Women run the world. And the world is women or feminine or whatever. If you want that, then you are no different from the men who consider women as second-class human beings. The way nature creates men and women, God creates men and women. We both have our own strengths and weaknesses. That does not make any one of us inferior to anyone. We are all human. We need and want one another. I believe true feminism is fighting against injustice and inequalities we face in today's world just for being a woman. Personally, I support humanism and equality rather than feminism. This is very good. This was from a male perspective. It has ruined a great deal for women. Statistics show that women are not happier. They're more miserable and angry. The cruelest part of it is the name, feminism, and the constant blathering about how it exists for the sake of women. It is the spiritual equivalent of a rapist kidnapper telling his victims that he's doing it for their good. Oof, this is a bit harsh, but okay. Just because something claims to be good doesn't mean it is. That's very true. After all, doesn't the devil deal in illusion to sell the sin? Isn't all evil something we fool ourselves or are fooled by others into believing is good? That's true. I mean, feminism brought some good stuff, but then it just ended up being like the whole bunch of it just ended up making things worse. The good that it's created, it can, at this rate, it can subtract all the good if we continue at the same rate, especially with the body empowerment and sexual liberation kind of thing. Feminism is rooted in an essential hatred of the feminine, or at the very least, a misunderstanding of the feminine. It often tries to get women to embrace both masculine virtues and vices. Men tend to be physically stronger. Oh, let's have women play rough sports. Men tend to be more competitive and overtly aggressive. Ooh, let's have women do the same and put them in boardrooms. Men are sleeping around. Let's give women the pill and have them sleep around too. Except that sleeping around makes no one happy. Exactly what I said. And it seems to produce even more misery in women than it does in men. Because women are more emotional. And we release more oxytocin than men, which is the bonding hormone, when we engage in sexual activities. What is godly femininity? At first, right, when I was reading about godly femininity, I was like, yo, why the heck should I do this? Why is this supposedly good for me? But now I feel warm when I read it. I'm like, wow, I love this. So godly femininity shows the perspective that women should embrace qualities like modesty, submission, nurturing, and prioritizing family life. Godly femininity is rooted in who God created a woman to be, even just looking at the biological components of a woman, the composition, and our inward spirit, how we are. What is femininity alone? So femininity are the qualities and the characteristics that actually define a woman. But now that we see women are going wayward, I guess you can't define femininity as just that. So that's why we're going to look at what femininity actually is. I made a video on how to be a feminine woman, so I'll put it at the top so you can get more into it. So what are some traits that make up godly femininity? So number one, embracing traditional gender roles. I hate the word traditional because it seems like tradition, just because either it has been carried down from our ancestors, that's why we're doing it. So it seems to be societal. But these are godly gender roles. These are gender roles given to us by God. Nurturing is basically how women are, like wanting to take care of people, even children. Like when you get hurt and you tell a woman, she'll be like, oh, what happened? Sorry, and try to take care of you. You see those kind of qualities that you can be in your, like, sleep in your mother's embrace, and like you feel comforted when you're around a woman, especially a feminine woman, a mother. Those kind of qualities. That's what nurturing is. So embracing nurturing, embracing submission, which I'll talk about more in a different point. Yeah, just being caring and even having wisdom. All this is part of it. She speaks with wisdom and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her arms to the needy. Basically, a godly feminine woman is a Proverbs 31 woman. Number two, spiritual connection. Like being in tune with the voice of God and for you to be godly feminine, you have to be able to know the godly side, don't you? So being able to understand God and having a relationship with Him, so you're able to know what true womanhood is, and that you're not a second-class human being, or you are not just made just because you are made. Remember, when God created everything, He said everything was good. Until He created man, He said, no, it is not good for man to be alone. Because He knew for the world to be good, woman had to be part of it. So when women came to the world, God is like, it is good. See, we make the world complete. We make the world become good. Well, the world fell, but before that time, the world became good because woman was the final completion. When she has a relationship with God, she's able to exhibit the fruits of the Spirit, like compassion, faith, gentleness, calmness. Basically, all the fruits of the Spirit. I'll put it on the screen because I don't really remember. 3, complementary. So, being a godly feminine woman, we are able to understand that men and women are made to complement each other. We are not competition. We are not trying to fight. At first, I really thought that we are competition. I thought, especially in schools, because I'm always competing with guys, kind of thing. Because I always had to make sure that I had to do well, and I don't care. I always found guys like, oh, I'll pass them, kind of thing. So I was always in competition mode, and that really made me divert out of femininity. But with femininity, we are not competing, especially with your husband. You are complementing each other. You are both together. That's why two becomes one. To make life work, you become one so that everything works smoothly. We are different, but we have equal roles in the society and family. God made man and woman in his own image. He made them male and female. Number 4, marriage and family. I was like, I don't need a man. I don't care if a man comes, fine. But most women want to get married. Most women want that happily ever after kind of fairy tale kind of thing. Of course, I want to get married, but to the right man. So I'm not going to force myself into anything. It's not our central purpose, because our central purpose is to do the will of God, to tell people about God, and all those kind of things. But family too is part of it. I'm talking for women, so forgive me if you think I am just speaking of what women should do and disregarding the male. I'm not really speaking about male. Men also have their own things they have to do, especially regarding marriage and family. But I'm speaking for our women here. We honor marriage and we promote the family unity. Children are a heritage from God. Offspring are a reward from him. She watches over the affairs of her household, and she does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, he praises her. He hath trained up a child in the way that he should go, and when he grows old, he will not depart from it. I don't know if you guys know the story of Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. During those times, during the those times, the mothers are usually the ones that will be taking care of the children because the men have to go out for war. So it's always the mothers that are in the home with them. But you can tell that these 4, their mothers instilled godly principles into them. Because look, they were like 15 when they were carried off to Babylon. Yet Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had to, I think, was it after 3 years of training or whatsoever. So they were literally brought up with the teachings of their mother from teenage. When they had to stand in front of the statue and they had to bow down before the statue, otherwise the king will send them to the fire. They didn't bow down to the statue because they would only bow down to God. And how do you think they got those principles from? From their mother. Because their mother taught them in the way that they should go. So if the mother was not in the house and she was like, okay, I'm going to be like a man and also go to war, what's going to happen? Of course, they're going to bow down to the statue because they will not know the godly principles. But the mother chose to remain in her feminine and teach the child in the way that they should go. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what godly femininity is. When you train up the child from childhood in the way that they should go, when they grow old, they will not depart from it. No matter where they go, even if they go to Babylon. And the Bible also says, honor both your father and your mother. It didn't say honor just your father. It says your father and your mother. That shows that God does not think lightly of women. God sees women as equal human beings. And that the role that you have to submit or to nurture, that does not make you less than. Number 5, the forbidden word, submission. So I also made a video on submission. If you want to know a clearer understanding on what submission is not, you can click the link above. Godly femininity also emphasizes the role of submission to her husband. Women are meant to submit to their husbands because the men are the leaders of the household. Their husbands, they are the leaders of the household. Especially if you go for the man that actually obeys God, has godly principles, there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to not submit to. Because if he's going to listen to what God says, and God says, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. And what did Christ do for the church? He died for the church. So if your husband is willing to even die for you, why won't you submit to his leadership? Why won't you listen to him and take what he's saying in? Like, there's nothing to fear about submitting such a man. You can allow him to lead, because you know he's going to lead you in the right path. But that does not mean you'll be a doormat. I don't want to go into this. I explained it more in my other video. Wives, submit to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. So we are not just submitting to our husbands, we are also submitting to God. The husband also submits to God. So if he's submitting to what God says, God is not going to tell him that he should maltreat his wife or beat his wife or treat her as less than a human being. So submit yourself to your husband as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body. Husbands, you should love your wife as you love yourself, and the wife must also respect the husband. Number 6, modesty. I know this is also a forbidden topic, but your girl has to speak on it. Girls, our bodies are the temple of God. So you shouldn't just think, yes, some women will be like, oh, I'm not trying to show myself anybody, I'm doing it for myself. But during the pandemic, were you wearing skimpy clothes because when nobody is going to see? No. When you dress up, you dress for other people to see. And it's okay to do that. But then just remember, your body is a temple. And so you should keep it safe. That does not mean you should dress, wear long gowns every day. Like, if you go on my Instagram page, shameless plug, I know. My whole motto is modest but stylish. You can dress modestly but in a stylish way. And I have a lot of tips on dressing like that. So you can go and follow your girl. So yes, you can dress modestly. Modesty doesn't have to be boring. Can be classy, can be stylish, it can even be sensual. But modesty is not just in our dressing, but in our behavior, humility, purity. Once you see your body as a temple, you will know that not everybody deserves to have this temple. Not everybody deserves to be in this temple. And in your behavior, humility, being humble towards other people. Because why you puffed up and proud for? We are all the same. We are all human beings anyway. Having respect. And modesty comes from respect. When people see you dressing modest, they understand that you respect yourself. Because even my little brother said it. He's young. He says that when women dress in a skimpy way, it just looks like they don't respect themselves. And even though he's young, he can tell. So, dressing modestly and behaving in a modest manner, especially with your speech, no vulgar words kind of thing, it just shows that you have respect for yourself and for other people too. I also want the women to dress modestly with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold or pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who profess to worship God. That's not trying to say, oh, never wear gold or pearls or expensive clothes. It's just saying that let your light be what makes you, not what you're wearing, or just because you have a Gucci purse or Gucci shoes kind of things. But let your inner character be what reflects you. Because if all you have is just your outer beauty, it becomes like there's another verse that says, a pig wearing pearls. Or a pig, but you're decorating yourself with pearls. You're still just a pig. Flee from sexual immorality. Why? Because your body is the temple of God. Not everybody deserves to have this temple. Number 7, seeking godly character. Basically reflecting the character of Christ. Charm is deceitful and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. And then your beauty should not come from outward adornments, but from a gentle and a quiet spirit, which is great worth in God's sight. And that does not mean that you cannot talk and just be quiet. Have a gentle spirit. What I'm trying to say is not like the hood aesthetic, the hood women that just shout, and what is that? If you're trying to get your point across, being feminine and gentle and speaking calmly, or let people want to hear you and understand you, rather than shouting across the room, people are just going to start being defensive, and whatever you're saying is not going to get through to them. A wife of noble character, who can find? A virtuous woman, who can find? Her worth is far above rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her, and she lacks nothing of value. The Proverbs 31 woman, she's a housewife, she takes care of the house, but she also has other business ventures. Like she does a whole lot of things, but that does not mean you have to do all of them to be a Proverbs 31 woman. What comes first to her is her family and the reputation of her husband. Her husband is respected at the city gates. That's because he is a respectable man, and he also has the respect of his wife. And his wife is able to submit to him, and she also serves others. So just like Jesus Christ came to serve people. And this is mainly for people who are Christians, people who have a relationship with God. But I'm talking for women in this sense. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So these are a few examples of some women in the Bible who show traits of biblical womanhood or godly femininity. So we have Ruth, who got her Boaz, who demonstrated loyalty and faithfulness, especially to her mother-in-law. Like, you are in your whole country. Why would you want to go back to another country when your husband is dead with your mother-in-law? Especially in these times that people don't even like their in-laws. She was like, don't urge me to leave you to her mother-in-law or turn back away from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people and your God will be my God. Like, it's the femininity oozing out. And not just femininity, godly femininity. And what happened? She became one of the ancestors, one of the few women ancestors of Jesus Christ, a whole savior. Like, girl. And then we have Esther, Queen Esther, who displayed courage. She had a whole 1 year training to appear before the king. But then from childhood, even though it seemed like her parents died off early, but from childhood, the lessons that she may have gotten from her mother instilled in her to also show godly femininity and have that godly principles inside her plus her femininity. And that's what made the king say, Esther, tell me whatever you need. I'll give you up to even half of the kingdom. When she was about to save her people, Mordecai says, and who knows that maybe you've become queen for such a time as this. Then we have Mary, the mother of Jesus. And she showed obedience, faith, and humility. When the angel came, she was 14, 15. She could have said, oh no, well, she was engaged to be married, but she could have lost her man. But then she obeyed God's command. She was like, I'm lucky among women to be bearing the savior of the world. Like, imagine, she did not say, no, I'm not going to do it, I'm not fit for it. She listened to God and she obeyed it. I am the Lord's servant. May your word to me be fulfilled. My soul glorifies the Lord, and my spirit rejoices in God, my Savior. We have Deborah. Deborah, people might think she was masculine because she was there. She was a leader. She was a leader, she was a judge. But even though she was a leader and she was a judge, she had wisdom and she was faithful. And even in that time, she was still feminine, godly feminine. Like, even when you're a leader, right, in your workplace, you may be more in your masculine, but you don't always have to be masculine. You can lead in a feminine way too. Deborah, a prophet, was the wife of Zapidoth. See, they still mention her husband's name, even though she was basically the leader. And she was leading Israel at that time. The next video is coming up in 1, 2. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hi guys, so this is my website. So that's the homepage. It's all about godly femininity, and the blog is more on a Christian take on social issues. Yeah, so please check it out and become a certified royal babe by subscribing to the blog. See, like I did. For God so loved you that he gave his only son, so you and I will believe in him and not perish, but have everlasting life.